Come on, Livingston. We gotta go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We gotta go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across, it's turned in! It's Pittman who's got it! Livingston leads!
Road is long.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien. Lead! And Livingston have the lead! Man, can score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We gotta go.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Euan and today I'm joined by Broonie. How you doing, big man?
Good, mate. Thank you. Cheers for having me back on. No Angus this week, but I'm here to talk about the win. So still in a buzzing mood from Saturday. We're doing this on Monday now, so yeah, I'm delighted about the win.
I mean, it could well be the case that Angus is trying to join, but because of his floppy wrist that he can't type or whatever, so
Yeah.
he may well join us. Who knows? But as always, you can find this episode as well as all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming site. Just search for Talk Livi, so you can follow us or subscribe to ensure that you don't miss another episode.
We'll start this one off by talking about our trip to Perth as the Lions came away with an impressive 3 points against St Johnstone.
We'll then take a look back at a dramatic international break as Scotland took a huge step towards securing a World Cup playoff spot.
And finally, we'll look ahead to another big game as the Lions head to the Highlands on Saturday to take on Ross County.
After a run of poor results and performances, the Lions went to Perth to take on St Johnstone in need of 3 points. Goals from Odin Bailey, Bruce Anderson and Scott Pittman secured an impressive win on the road for the Lions. Broonie, what was your take on the game? Obviously, the last podcast we were all a bit doom and gloom and down in the dumps. It's safe to say after the last 3 games of football that we've been witness to, we're in a lot better spirits.
That's why I'm here, mate. That's why I'm here. Positivity only. No, it was, yeah, as you say, it's great to get the victory after sort of, you know, we had been on and sort of, you know, we're talking about managers' futures and things like that, and then we go away to St Johnstone. Don't think any of us really, as you saw by our predictions, expected that. You know, I had to bit your hand off for a point before the game, and it's almost the perfect away day. You know, we go away to St Johnstone, notoriously a tough place to go. 3 goals, clean sheet, and 3 points, most importantly. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing with that. Almost the perfect away day, as I say. Thought from the first minute we sort of set the tone. I think Scott Pittman playing really helped us with pressing. I think, you know, we've spoke on here a lot about that's kind of what we've been missing. Sort of the identity crisis conversations that we were having. You know, kind of sitting off teams, being too nice, trying to be too pretty. But you know, I think 2 of our goals pretty much come from pressing, forcing St Johnstone into mistakes. That was set with Pittman in the first minute. He created that chance for Montano, I think it was. It was a good save by Xander Clark. And then a couple of minutes later, we take the lead through Odin Bailey. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. You know, he showed his skill, showed his flair. That, you know, he showed in glimpses, but obviously that's his best game for Livy by a country mile.
To touch on that, Broonie, I agree with you. You know, we've talked about it before with Odin, that you can see there is a bit of quality there, but it was maybe a case that we hadn't been seeing the end product, and by gosh, was the end product there at the weekend. He was absolutely outstanding. I agree with you on that.
But I think he's, just for me, slightly overshadowed. I mean, it's perhaps harsh because I thought he had a great game, but slightly overshadowed by Bruce Anderson back in the team. Showed great character to come back, obviously. It's a wee bit cliche, but you know, I think it was his first start since Dundee. And that 0-0 there, he'd been sort of snatching at chances and things. He'd he'd been dropped. We played Shinnie up front, which obviously turned out to be a masterstroke for the Celtic game. But, you know, from then, Hearts, Rangers, we played St Mirren. Shinnie wasn't really, you know, we could tell he wasn't really a number 9. Obviously, he wasn't in the squad at all due to injury, I believe, after coming off in the St Mirren game. But no, credit to Bruce. Thought he was different class again from minute one. His pressing was very good. He's obviously linked up with Odin Bailey for the first goal, scored the second himself, and then I think for me the third goal sort of shows how far he's come in the last couple of months. I think maybe a few months ago he tries to take that on himself, but he shows the composure to square it for Pitts and sort of round off that perfect away day.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Kind of early doors, we set the tone. We went after St Johnstone from the first minute, and as you say, had an early chance. Montano arguably should stick it away, but it's a good save by Xander Clark. And then, you know, the opening goal, it's great play by Anderson, and that's what you get with Anderson in comparison to when you play Shinnie up there. It's running down the sides, you know, getting down in the corners, picking up on balls in behind, and that's where the goal comes from. You know, he rolls it in. It's a great dummy by Pittman as well, to leave it into Bailey's path, and he's stroked that into the corner, really composed. But I think after that, we were almost a bit surprised that we took the lead as early as we did, and I think we did sit in a wee bit for the next kind of 15 to 20 minutes. St Johnstone had a couple of chances, most notable one probably being Liam Craig hitting the top of the crossbar. But I think, as you say, the second goal comes about because of the press. And you talk about Pittman. You know, sometimes folk give Pitts a bit of stick, but see, when Pitts isn't in the side, I think it's so obvious how important he is to this team. And for me, it was no coincidence that we saw a much better, what we associate with being a Livy type of performance, and Pittman's back in the team. It's no surprise for me. But as you say, the second goal comes about from the press. And by the way, it's a terrific finish by Anderson, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, you know, if that was me coming onto that ball, I'm taking a touch and setting myself before hitting that. And it's not an easy chance, and he's tucked it away in the corner brilliantly. And, you know, I think we deserve to be in front at the break. And then again, you know, there was a wee touch of class from Bailey in the opening stages of the half where he spun his man and played in Anderson. Maybe he's a split second away from pulling the trigger, gets blocked. But, you know, St Johnstone had a lot of pressure, a lot of set pieces, a lot of corners. We've bemoaned it this season, our defending of cross balls and set pieces. So, you know, that was kind of a worry. They had a couple of chances. I think Ambrose put one past the post, but, you know, as you say, the third goal, it just comes from putting pressure on the ball higher up the park, and Effie Ambrose doing some Effie Ambrose things, running into Michael Halloran. And again, I'll touch on what you said with Anderson. It's very unselfish by Anderson. Again, if I'm a number 9 in the position he's in, you almost wouldn't blame him for taking the shot on. But, you know, it shows a bit of composure to go and play in Pittman. And I'm not going to lie, I think the most surprising thing about the entire game was seeing Scott Pittman do a knee slide. I've never seen Pitts so buzzing in my life. I even mind his goal in the playoffs, like both these playoff goals. He didn't even look that excited that he'd scored them. He looked absolutely buzzing off his tits that he put that one in against St Johnstone on Saturday. But, you know, that was perfect way to cap it off. And Pitt's breaking a couple of records as well. He's become our all-time leading goal scorer in the top flight, and he's also the first Livy player to score in 4 consecutive top flight seasons as well. So another few records to add to his ever-growing list, Scott Pittman. But, you know, a couple other performances, as you say, Anderson was excellent. I think he gave us that focal point and properly stretched St Johnstone. I think we took advantage a little bit of their back 3 being a bit more unsettled in terms of the personnel. I think obviously Jason Kerr moved on in the summer, and Liam Gordon wasn't available either. So it's not the usual kind of back 3 that they would have played with. And I think we also played on the fact that Ambrose does like to come out on the ball, and I think we did target that at times. I think that was quite clever. But I think one of the other players that was a bit of an unsung hero was Jason Holt. Again, thought he was absolutely excellent, but I think the blend in the midfield 3 helped Holt do what I think Holt does best, which is being an anchor in the midfield and just kind of sitting and shielding. I think because he had Pittman and Omiyonga either side of him, it allowed them to go and put the pressure on and, you know, initiate press of the ball. And again, just allowed Holt to go and pick up the pieces in behind if stuff did go in there. But there was so many good performances. As you say, Bailey added a bit of a killer instinct to to his game as well. But overall, absolutely delighted. Don't get me wrong, I think St Johnstone could easily scored a couple. Max has pulled off a couple of fantastic saves as well. So we've doubled our goal tally in the league off the back of that game. We've got another clean sheet. I think pretty much every fan was probably a bit surprised by the outcome of the game, but I think it's a 3 points we desperately needed, and it gives us a massive boost going into the Ross County game, which is obviously going to be a massive game as well. Was there any other players that really stuck out for you, Broonie, at the weekend?
Player-wise, not particularly. I think you've covered it all. For me, Jason Hoke's been our most consistent performer this season, so it comes as no surprise. It's probably Omiyonga's best game for us, but again, with the caveat that I don't think that's that hard because we haven't played well the last 3 or 4 games since he's come in. So, but no, definitely his best game. Stryjek again, solid. I felt clean sheet for him, and on the back four, I think especially with Penrice coming off at half time, he sort of alters the back four a wee bit. It's a straight swap with Jacko coming in, but I mean maybe sometimes it's hard to get up to the speed of the game just coming off from the bench, but I felt he dealt with it well. And I'm obviously going to shout out the back four in general. They seem to be gelling together now. It's our 3rd clean sheet of the season from 9 games. So if you look at it now, you're averaging 1 and 3. So it looks a wee bit nicer on paper. But in terms of the whole game, as you said, St Johnstone did have the chances. I think it's obviously very obvious to say, but the 3rd goal comes at a brilliant time because you're sort of looking at it. If they get one back, it becomes nervy. Sort of, I was saying to Dave Black, who I do the commentary with at half time, this is exactly the sort of game that we draw to each. We saw it last season at McDermott Park. This is the game that we're 2-0 up and we bottle it somehow. But I thought we dug in. I'm not saying we deserve it. I'm not saying that something like this has been coming, because I don't think we have been great. But maybe that it was good that the luck was on our side, because as I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, we had that Aberdeen game, we didn't get that luck. Max makes a mistake. The Motherwell game, we could arguably go on and win that, and we get nothing from it. St Mirren a couple of weeks ago as well, and we had a few chances in that, and we ultimately get nothing from the game. So it was good to see us actually have a bit of luck on our side, because St Johnstone get one back, it's a totally different game, but we rode that luck. I've got down here that they had 65% possession in the game, so they were obviously more than in it, and they had the chances. But yeah, just that sort of counter attack for the 3rd goal is brilliant. And then that's when I knew that we got the 3 points, because as a Livingston fan, you're 2-0 up with 25 minutes to go. You're still never certain, are we? So
fans of a certain age, Broonie, I still remember going to Fourth Bank in the 1st Division and being 2-0 up and going 3-2 down and rescuing a draw for 3 each. Then I remember a game the same season against Stirling Albion being 3-0 up at half time and then pulling it back to 3 each, and then Graham Dorrans rescued us to make it 4-3. So ever since, I think I have a mild form of PTSD from those games against Stirling Albion, where I think unless we're up at least 4, I'm never 100% sure. But you talk about it being 2-0 at half time. I messaged my pal Ross, who's been on the podcast before, St Johnstone fan, and I said to them, score early and we might crumble, because we've had a bit of a reputation this season. Again, we've spoken on the podcast quite a lot that we concede early goals in the second half. We don't seem to switch on early doors, but we obviously managed to get through that spell, and as you say, probably got that 3rd goal at the perfect time. You just get past that spell that we've been a bit ropey in previous league games, and then you basically put it's the final nail in the coffin for the 3 points for us. But it's a massive result. As I say, this was a big run of games. I think it was a run of games Davey had been bigging up that was going to be where we could possibly kickstart our season, and that's a massive 3 points on the road. And don't get me wrong, we've got another tough game coming up, going up to Ross County. It's a huge game for them as well. They're currently, we're currently 4 points clear of them, so they'll be looking to cut the gap. So that's a big game next week. But tell you what, we could put an absolute heap of pressure on them. Hopefully we can go and open the gap next weekend.
Scotland and drama go hand in hand, and the recent international break was not short of any of that drama. crucial late wins against Israel and Faroe Islands, secured 6 points, which have Steve Clarke's men on the brink of a World Cup playoff. Euan, we'll start with that Israel game. What were your thoughts on that? We went together. We went in a big group of Livi fans. A cracking day, a very nervy day, but what a victory!
Yeah, not going to lie, the 2-day hangover was well worth it. I was still feeling very, very, very delicate on Monday evening, not being that rough in a while, but it's unbelievable game of football. After the last 18 months, it's games like that make you realise how much you miss football, and it was just brilliant. First half, don't get me wrong, don't think we played great at all. We spoke about it in the preview episode for the World Cup qualifiers. Zahavi being one of the big danger men, De Boer being one of the big danger men, and they both got on the score sheet. Zahavi took his free kick brilliantly, got back in it. Phenomenal strike by John McGinn. Great play by Tierney and Robertson down the left-hand side. Fantastic finish by McGinn. And then the place was absolutely rocking, but it wasn't rocking for long. It's just kind of it's such a scrappy goal, the De Boer goal, and obviously they're going in 2-1 at the break. We always let the penalty right on half time as well, and I'm glad London managed to get a goal in both the next two games, because he would have been crucified by the Tartan Army. I think as soon as he stepped up for the penalty, I wasn't confident. Just the way that London likes to hit these penalties, just rifle it down the middle. I think if any goalkeeper just chances it and stands still, they've got a chance, and that's what Marciano's done, and he's made the save. But second half, I think we got a proper grip of the game. Gilmore and McGregor dominated the middle of the park in the second half. In particular, Gilmore was fantastic second half. And we put the pressure on and started getting more crosses into their box, and that's how the second goals come about. I mean, Lyndon Dykes is that good that we've got to celebrate his 2 goals 4 times in the international break. That's how good London is. Obviously, it went to VAR. That's my first ever experience of a VAR goal, and I'm not going to lie, it's one of the most exciting experiences of my life. Maybe that says a lot about my life, that it's not that exciting, but it added to the entire experience that was that game of football. And by the way, it's a good finish by London as well. Sole of his foot getting on the end of it. And, I think there was a bit of me when Marciano's made that save from Dykes, from the header, and then McGinn's missed that chance just before stoppage time. There was a bit of me that was going, it's going to be one of these nights again. And
but I was the same.
But there was a lot of folk that I've spoke to about the game, just the roar when 6 minutes of stoppage time went up, and they just kind of thought, I think this is going to be one of these nights at Hampden where something special will happen. And again, don't get me wrong, the goal's not pretty. I think was it his knee or his chest that's come off McTominay, but obviously getting Austin McPhee, the set piece coach in from Aston Villa, has paid dividends, and we've managed to get one from the corner, and it's sent Hampden absolutely wild. I've got bruises all over my shins from celebrating the winner, and the scenes afterwards were just unbelievable. The noise was just fantastic, and have to say Glasgow was absolutely buzzing afterwards when we went into town, and have to say I enjoyed myself quite a lot after the game. But unbelievable second half performance to dig that one out. But I think it shows the character of Clarke's squad. You look at this campaign alone, twice behind at home to Austria, you managed to get a point. You're a goal behind in Israel, you get a point. You go behind twice at home to Israel, and you manage to drag 3 points away from it. And then we'll obviously go to touch on the Faroes game, not played particularly well, but managed to grind out a result in the end at what has become quite a difficult place to go in the Faroe Islands. So, yeah, the Israel game was fantastic. And it's, I think everyone who follows Scotland always has the, I was there moments, or we at that game. And I think the Israel game's one of those ones that will be added to the list.
Yeah, I agree in terms of the I was there stuff. I think, it's absolutely up there in terms of atmosphere. Obviously been following Scotland as long as I can remember. Was at the games, albeit I was young, sort of 7 or 8, I think, in the games against Italy, France. More recently, I remember the likes of Germany at home, Spain at home. The atmosphere in those games, albeit I don't think we got anything from those games. They were incredible. The Griffiths goals, I think, are probably just top, but the result takes away from that. But other than the the moment when, those Lee Griffiths goals went in, I think definitely McTominay's goal there is right up there. And the sort of after party, if you can call it that, after the game was brilliant. Yes sir, I can boogie. You had a bit of I can't remember, for the life of me, Free From Desire. That's it. I was going to call it the Will Grigg song there. But you had that, and then you had Rocking All Over the World. So no, absolutely different class. Had a brilliant day. Sort of as you alluded to at the start of that, it's why we've all missed football, isn't it? It's not the same when fans haven't been in the ground. That full house at Hampden was electric from the first minute to the last. Sort of my first experience since COVID of being a fan in the ground and sort of celebrating goals, the limbs of that. So I absolutely loved that. And onto the Faroe Islands game, it was brutal. If we're being honest, we'll probably just skim over it. I don't really want to relive that, but yeah, that man Lyndon Dykes, again, Talk Livi podcast. He's an avid follower, isn't he? He follows us on Instagram. We've probably motivated him to score the goal, so we'll take full credit here.
No, I mean, I think that when I was looking at the Faroe Islands game, I couldn't have really gave a toss about the performance prior to the game. I think it was all about just getting 3 points and getting the job done. I think if you look at the Faroe Islands over their last 20 home games, they've won 8, which for a team ranked for a team that's ranked in the hundreds, they're quite clearly an improving team. And if you look at our match stats against the Faroe Islands, they're very similar to Denmark, who went there recently, and very much the same as us, had to score late on to get away there with a 1-0 win. So, and Denmark are a better side than us. So, it was a case of just getting the job done. First half, I don't think we were good at all. I thought we were really poor first half, really sluggish. And to be honest, I think we were really lucky to get in at half time 0-0. I think Craig Gordon's kept us in it. Unbelievable point blank save, which just shows, he seems to be finding a new lease of life since he's went back to Hearts after leaving Celtic. But crucial save. I think second half, don't get me wrong, I still don't think we played great by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think we tried to get down the sides of the Faroes a bit more. I think in particular Ryan Fraser put 3 or 4 dangerous crosses into the box, despite he seemed to get a bit of stick after the game for his performance. But I actually think most of our decent chances came down our right-hand side with Fraser and his delivery. A few chances we had, Gilmore had a couple of shots from the edge of the box which have gone just wide. He had one where the keeper saved it when he's got in behind as well. McTominay got in behind, probably got to pull it across goal. And it kind of looked, again, it was looking like one of those days when McGinn misses that header, point blank header straight to the keeper. But once again, we've shown a bit of character and we've managed to grab a goal late on. Wasn't pretty. It's a good ball in by Patterson, and once again we got to celebrate a London goal twice as it went to VAR. And I don't understand how VAR took so long to make the decision that it wasn't handball. To me, it looked quite clear that it had come off his chest. I think you could clearly see London was trying to pull his arm out the way. I think it's good reactions by London, if anything. But we managed to get a goal, and I think we saw the game out very, very comfortably from there. But as you say, it's a game that will not live long in the memory with any fan or any viewer. But at the end of the day, it was a case of going there, making sure you get the job done, get 3 points, and now we've got I would class as another banana skin coming up in Moldova, to be honest. And it's one of these games that we have let us down in the past. But had you asked any Scotland fan at the start of this group if you had games against the Faroe Islands and Moldova to wrap up a playoff spot, I think any Scotland fan would have bitten your hand off. So it's a huge opportunity. I do think if we're looking to get a seeded spot in a home semi-final, I do think we're going to need to get something against Denmark in the final game, which you don't know what to expect with Denmark, considering they've gone through the group. What is it, 27 goals they've scored, none conceded. I think the professional aspect of them, they'll want to go and get a 100% record in the group. So come to Hampden with all intent of winning, but then you can try and look at it the other way, going, well, they've already got top spot wrapped up, so they've got nothing to really play for in the next couple of games. So it's an interesting one, but before looking at that, we need to get the job done in Moldova, and I'm sure that's going to be another tough game. They were pretty stuffy against us at Hampden, so it's another one where I think performance counts for very little. It's just a case of going there and getting the job done and getting 3 points.
Back in the day, everybody would have taken that performance and result against Georgia, Macedonia, teams like that. I've seen a lot of criticism for Steve Clarke, man. I can't hack it at all. I don't get it. You know, we'd have absolutely taken that back in the day. You know, we played awful against Georgia. If I remember, you know, that was one of those ones to forget, but we didn't get the result. So, you know, we got the result against Faroe Islands. If we look back at this in 10 years, we're not going to give a toss. So, I mean, the most important thing, again, cliched as ever, but it is the 3 points, and we're a win away from a playoff away to Moldova. Surely, man, they've got a point from 8 games, and it's against the Faroes. Surely, come on.
But Broonie, that's where, you know, the ones that have been about a little bit longer just look at that Moldova game and just fear it because it's such a typical game that Scotland go and struggling. But as you say, I don't quite understand the criticism of Clarke. At the end of the day, he's taken us to a major tournament since he came in. When he took over, I think someone put up the table in the group after we'd played our games against Belgium and Russia in the Euros qualifying campaign. And I think we were sitting behind Cyprus and Kazakhstan in the group after 5 or 6 games played in the group. So I think it just shows you how far the squad's come under Clarke. I mean, I remember the first 2 games of that campaign before Clarke took the job. We had a negative goal difference from 2 games against Kazakhstan and San Marino. That's embarrassing. And I think, yes, it wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, I think there's Scotland teams that would have gone there in the past and they wouldn't have got 3 points. You know, that's a game. Tell you what, under Alec McLeish, I don't think we would have got the job done in that game if we were playing like that. I don't think we would have had the character to do it. And I think...
Aye, but McLeish got us to the Euros, mate, because of the playoffs, apparently. So.
Well, yeah, granted, I credited McLeish because he did take us through that group, but at the same time, it wasn't without its failings within the group. And look, I don't get the criticism of Clarke. I think I had a look. He's had 28 games, I think, in charge. He's won 50% of his games. And I was looking at the games he's lost. He's lost 2 to Belgium, 2 to Russia. You know, in that, when he'd first come into the job as well. So I think his record's pretty decent, to be honest. And as I say, he's given folk like yourself, Broonie, you know, a generation of fans at something that they'd never really experienced before, which was going to a major tournament. And he's got us on the brink of getting a playoff spot for the World Cup. I can't understand the criticism, but some fans will just never be happy. But I'm quite chuffed that we're in a position. It's in our hands. We're not, again, in a typical Scotland scenario where we're relying on other results to go in our favour as well. It's quite simple. Win, we've got a playoff spot. So, as I say, had you asked me prior to this international break just past, if you had a game away in Moldova to wrap things up and get a playoff spot, I would have bitten your hand off for it. So, massive opportunity for Scotland next month. Massive opportunity to make strides to get towards Qatar in 2022.
And Steve, if you're listening, pal, you're always welcome on. We know you've got a soft spot for the Livi.
He loves plastic pitches. He loves plastic pitches from his time at Kilmarnock. So yeah, Steve, if you ever fancy coming on, chewing the fat with us about Scotland, we love you. So you're welcome on anytime. Finally, this week, we'll look ahead to our trip to Dingwall as we take on Ross County with the aim of opening up the gap at the bottom of the table. Broonie, I'm going to have a guess that you're feeling a tad more confident ahead of this one with the performance in Perth at the weekend there.
Definitely. If you'd asked me on Friday night, I'd have been more looking forward to the staggy pie than the actual game itself. But no, I'm really optimistic now after that performance. We say all the time, but it's amazing what a win can do. Totally sort of it's changed my outlook on the season as a whole. Obviously not getting carried away, it's 1-1, but it was a comfortable 3-0 win at St Johnstone, and then now you're looking at it, we could go, I don't have the table in front of me. I imagine it's 8 points clear of Ross County, I think.
I think it's 7 points clear. So we're 4 clear just now. They're on 3 points. They've drawn 3 this season. They've yet to win. So opportunity to open up a 7 point gap.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go. Could go 7 points clear with a win. Also, it's the proverbial 6 pointer in it. Could also go the other way. It's away from home in the top flight. I probably would take a point. But I think winning would be absolutely massive. It would be a statement of our intent, going up there and getting a victory. I was just looking at the record between ourselves and Ross County sort of since they came up, since August 2019. Obviously that first game was the 4-1 victory. Terrific. That was an absolutely tremendous day up there. But the last 8 games, we've won 5, drawn twice, and they've just got 1 win. We've scored in 7 of those 8 games and scored a total of 17 goals over them. So, the stats don't lie. I think we've got a very good record, as I've just mentioned there, against Ross County. So, no reason why we can't go up there, get at least a point. They've been pretty poor this season under Malky Mackay. So, hopefully go up and rub some salt in the wounds.
Yeah, I think Ross County are a bit of a funny one. I think everyone looked at Ross County's appointment in summer with a bit of controversy. I mean, us as Livi fans, I think it's unfair to kind of stigmatise someone's past when they get a job. But obviously, Malky Mackay does come with a bit of baggage, and I don't think it went down particularly well when he was appointed. Obviously, the controversy he had in his exit from Cardiff City when he was down there. So it was an interesting appointment. It was a bit of a left field appointment, and obviously he's not been in management for a fair while either. So. But I think their performances probably don't reflect where they're sitting in the league. I think certainly I've not watched a lot of their kind of full games that they've played, a lot of highlights, but they've been well in games. So it's not as if they've not been competitive this season. They've picked up a couple of impressive results, drew at home with Hearts, for example, the other week up in Dingwall. So I think it's going to be a tough game, but they are bottom of the league for a reason. They haven't won a game, again, for a reason. So we shouldn't go up there fearing them. I think the player that's kind of stuck out for them this season is Blair Spittle. He's looked like a bit of a player that's reborn. He looked kind of out in the cold at Ross County. He was on loan at Partick Thistle in League One last year and wasn't even playing regularly there. So he's kind of come out of nowhere, and he's scored a few goals from the middle of the park. I think the boy Charles Cook causes a few problems in the wide areas as well. I think I actually remember him coming off the bench up in Dingwall against us last season and causing a few problems on the left-hand side. So those are a couple of players I'd probably keep an eye out on who can cause a few problems. Obviously, Jordan White as well. We all know what Jordan can do. Handful up top. But, I like to think that we can go there and score. I think we got a bit of cutting edge back against St Johnstone, looked a bit more ruthless in front of goal. I think having Anderson back in the team added to that. That natural kind of nose in and around the 18-yard box, and obviously the likes of Pittman being back in, and it was good to see Sibbs get back on the park, even though it was only a short stint against St Johnstone. So we've got players coming back, which is a big bonus for us as well. Hopefully allows us to kick on. But I think our overall record up in Dingwall in our history is very good. I think we've only lost maybe 3 or 4 games up there, if that serves me right. So we do have a very good record when we go up north. So hopefully we can go there and put in a good performance. But I don't think it's going to be an easy game at the same time, because they're in the exact same boat. They'll be targeting us as 3 points. I think these kind of head-to-head games this season against the likes of Dundee and Ross County are going to prove very, very important come the end of the season. And I think we need to try and come out on top of these in these games as much as possible.
No, definitely. You touch on it there. A couple of decent results, a point up at Pittodrie, and obviously they drew with Hearts as well, who we know are sort of a different beast this season. They've started very well. They're unbeaten. So, Hearts will be frustrated with that result, but Ross County more than matched them on the day. So they're not by any means a poor outfit. I said that they've had a poor start. I stand by that, but they do have a few players that can hurt us as you mentioned, Euan, Blair Spittle. I've not really seen enough at the minute from, the likes of, they brought in Alex Samuel, Dominic Samuel, who, are decent players. Ross Callaghan as well in particular. He's not really hit the ground running yet. Not a goal to his name. I think he was in double figures for Hamilton last season, albeit I think he took the penalties, but still, he was always in the right place at the right time for them, and he was a huge part of why Aki's pretty much went until 3 or 4 games to go on before they were relegated. I think without him last season, Hamilton would have been long gone, but sort of he kept them in the fight. So he can produce a moment of magic, Ross Callaghan, if he can sort of go on to try and replicate that form. So yeah, as you touch on, it's not going to be an easy game. I don't think. Again, I don't want to use a cliche, but majority of games won't be easy in this league. We know it's a sort of tough division this year. So certainly better than last season anyway. You've got the likes of the Hearts coming up and Dundee as well, and going down as Hamilton and Kelly. So for me, the league's improved. Ross County, as I mentioned, though, notoriously got a good record against them. So I'm quietly confident, but it's not as if we're going to go up there and blitz them. Hopefully we can carry the momentum in from Saturday, though, because that 3-0's got to give us some confidence. We'd been sort of worried about us scoring goals, things like that. We'd scored 3 and 8. Now it's 6 goals and 9. So again, that looks a lot more positive. It was another clean sheet, so that's got to give us some belief going up to Dingwall. And it's a game I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully we can get some support up there as well. It's always a good day out. A lot of time and a lot of money to commit for supporters, obviously, but hopefully, we get a good travelling support, a good loud support as well, and can cheer the boys on to victory. Fingers crossed.
Right, well, we'll move on to predictions. Obviously, we were all drastically wrong with our St Johnstone predictions, but what are you thinking for this one? Can we make it back-to-back away wins in the league and pull ourselves away from the bottom of the table, Broonie?
Yeah, I'm gonna back us to do that. We went on a good wee run last season. Terrific performance away at St Johnstone. Sort of not kick-started it, but helped us go on that run. It was sort of the second or third game after Martindale took over. So I'm hoping that it kickstarts us on a wee mini run. I'm not talking 14 games here. That was the stuff of dreams last season, but
I'm just talking I'm just talking the final 30 games of the season, Broonie. That's what I'm expecting from off the back of the St Johnstone result.
Split the old farm. But looking at their games, they're not bad in front of goal. They've scored a few this season, so I'm going to go 2-1 Livingston. I think they'll score, but basically we'll outscore them because we're Livingston. Yeah,
it's exactly what I was going to go for. Because I agree with you. I think they've been competitive in games this season. I don't think scoring has really been their issue. I think it's at the back where they've looked really vulnerable. So I do think they can score. I think when you look at two teams that have got two defences that have been leaking goals this season, the natural thing to expect is that there'll be goals in the game. So I think there'll be goals, and I think it'll be 2-1. So yep, as you just said there, absolutely nailed on. Like a few weeks ago, me and Angus building up a blockbuster 5-goal thriller at Dens Park, and it finished 0-0. We are building this one up to have goals in it. It'd be 2-1, so expect 0-0. But hopefully we can go up there, get 3 points, and start making a bit of progress this season. Just before we go this week and wrap up, I just thought it would be quite poignant. Obviously, there was news came out today. We're recording on Monday, so news came out today that Daniel Barden, who's on loan from Norwich at Livi, was diagnosed with testicular cancer. I think it's a devastating bit of news, but I think from reading the article, I think credit has to go to the medical teams at both Livi and Norwich for spotting it early doors. Obviously, Daniel's had a procedure done to hopefully increase his chances of recovery from that. But I think it's quite poignant just to to say, you know, obviously me, Broonie and Angus on the podcast obviously all wish Daniel, you know, the best in terms of his recovery. Hope to see him back out playing football soon. But just a wee message to everyone, ladies and gents, you know, check yourself. You know, check yourself for any abnormalities with your body, any bumps, lumps, things that aren't usually there. Get them checked out and seek advice with regards to it, you know, because let's be honest, if Daniel and the medical team not been doing that, then it might not have been spotted as early doors and given Daniel the best chance possible. But as I say, all of us here on the podcast wish Daniel the very best in his recovery and hope to see him back out in the pitch very soon.
Speedy recovery, Daniel. That's it for this week of Talk Livi. Thanks very much again to every single person for tuning in, week out. If you can, we'd obviously love to hear your feedback. Either give us a review on iTunes or simply, you know, give us a message on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. We welcome all sorts of criticism if you like, or positive feedback as well.
As Bruni said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, so search Talk Livi to find us and you'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it from us for this week. Thank you very much again for tuning in, and let's hope for another great week following the Lothian's finest football team. We hope to see you up in Dingwall.
Livingston, oh Livingston, to the Premiership.